Thank you so much, Sheila, and I'm really honored to be a part of this webinar. So there's a Michael Parenti saying that goes something like this. The most effective propaganda relies on framing rather than falsehood. By bending the truth rather than breaking it, using emphasis and other auxiliary embellishments, communicators can create a desired impression without resorting to explicit advocacy and without departing too far from the appearance of objectivity. This theme really summarizes the essence of designing and generating public consent when it comes to demonizing countries that are in conflict with the United States. In the early 2000s, it was Iraq. In the early 2010s, it was Syria and Libya. And since 2016, it has been China. I'm sure everyone has heard about the SARS-CoV-2 being referred to as the Chinese virus by the Trump administration. To attribute something as unpredictable as an epidemic to one country is incredibly problematic. According to the CDC, a novel H1N1 virus was detected first in the United States, with an estimated death toll of 151,000 to 575,000 worldwide. Ironically, it wasn't called the American virus. Rather, it was called the swine flu. In April, the New York Times stated that a key GOP strategy is to blame China and that elevating China's culpability for spreading the coronavirus may be the best way to improve their election chances. And this strategy laid the foundation for the massive spike in anti-Chinese racism, not just in the US, but across the West. This seems strangely reminiscent of the anti-Muslim sentiment and the Islamophobia that swept America after 9/11. After the attacks, the Bush administration laid a shock and awe invasion of Iraq to fight the war on terror. According to the Watson Institute at Brown University, over 182,000 civilians have died from direct war-related violence. While this was on the battlefield, American Muslims face increased racial profiling, suspicion, verbal assault, massive surveillance from the NYPD, and not to mention the ever-present threat from the Department of Homeland Security. The ACLU states that NYPD's intelligence division singled out Muslim religious leaders, student associations, businesses, and individuals for pervasive surveillance that is discriminatory and not conducted against institutions or individuals of other faith. One of the first victims of this bigotry was Balbir Singh Sodhi, a Sikh American gas station owner in Arizona. Since then, many Sikh Americans have been assaulted in the name of Islamophobia. And of course, the demonization of Arabs and Muslims permeated Hollywood with works like Homeland, Zero Dark Theory, and many films and shows that fetishize the hunt for extremists, all the while disregarding the social fallout and alienation faced by Muslims in America and worldwide. All of this established the public consent for America's ongoing war and presence in Iraq and Afghanistan for the hunt of either al-Qaeda or for bringing democracy. We first heard claims of Iraqi soldiers ripping babies out of incubators by Naira, then Saddam Hussein's WMDs, followed by Muammar Gaddafi's equipping his army with Viagra for mass assault on women, all later found to be baseless. These lies show that the US will spare no imagination to fabricate whatever is needed to manufacture consent for its geopolitical agenda. The US state-funded media is going full force with a massive and expensive campaign against China's use of vocational training centers as a de-radicalization effort in Xinjiang. We hear claims in the same vein as Iraq and Libya. Chinese Han soldiers assaulting Uyghur women, mass wave of sterilizations, forced labor, even genocide against the Uyghur population and their religion, Islam. This includes allegations of people not being allowed to wear the headscarf, have beards, or pray in mosques. But all of this can be disproved with videos of the daily life of Uyghurs in Xinjiang. There are 39,000 mosques in China, 25,000 of which are in Xinjiang, and the call to prayer, the adhan, is called publicly in China, a luxury not afforded to Muslims in the United States. A fact ignored in this discourse is that Hui Muslims are the largest group of Muslims in China, with a population of approximately 18 million people, not the Uyghurs, and they face no such claims of persecution. Given all of this, surely the US and all its media associates cannot be trusted when it talks about the affairs of a sovereign country it considers as competition for global superpower. The US warmongers have lied before, and they're lying now, again. So what does this all mean? It means that as American Muslims, we have more in common with Chinese Americans and Chinese people, both Muslims and non-Muslims, and not the warmongers who shed crocodile tears for us. We, as American Muslims, should refuse to be pawns in a propaganda game that can lead to disasters like we saw in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. We must refuse to endanger the lives of 1.4 billion people, among which tens of millions are Muslims. This is why we need a pivot to peace with China, not a pivot to war. Thank you.